What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. So today we're going to jump right in with the Warriors of Sky Defenders Moon Temple Defenders update. So they released the promotional video and lackluster at best. It's kind of cool seeing Miles Morales get a little bit of a graphical update in terms of, I don't think I've seen another character with the full bridge girders, the sport beams and stuff like that. We've had the girders before. We had the, street signs or street posts and everything, but yeah. It's weird because they're giving us a very disjointed update. Like, the focus seems to be on the Warriors of Sky, but unfortunately, we already had the Warriors of Sky. Like, Sunbird and Blue Dragon were there months ago. So having this here now just quite doesn't make sense. The Miles Morales update seems to be centered mostly around that this is a 10-year anniversary special of Miles Morales' appearance. So that's why he's getting his tier 3 advancement now. It's kind of weird because we expect Miles Morales to get an update in June, July timeframe when Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse releases. So it's just a little bit weird because he's got a new uniform inside there. I showed that to you guys yesterday in yesterday's video. But it is here. Now, even weirder is that they basically give us a Shadow Shell who's becoming a speed type character now instead of becoming staying a universal character. This is like the weirdest thing for me at all that they could have did, because here we get Shadow Shell. She's a super, whatever. She's literally listed in the game as a, a universal type character, and there was at least some inherent value in having her as a universal superhero, because you could come over here and you could look and go, okay, well, Jane just got an update 6 months ago. Unless they're going to move towards her Valkyrie uniform, Scarlet Witch, we might not be seeing her anytime soon necessarily. Cersei, we're definitely probably not seeing. Same for Medusa. Some of these characters don't quite make sense. Like, could we see a Clea update when we get any more Doctor Strange? Sure. But nothing to warrant that she would necessarily be a tier 4 character. So out of the characters that could be tier 4'd, it just kind of makes sense if Shadow Shell stayed inside the universal framework. It doesn't make sense for her to stay within the speed framework, because inside the speed framework, we could see at least 2 other females becoming tier 4 characters. You could see in the new year probably Luna Snow, for instance, becoming a tier 4 character, unless they want to put the emphasis that she's going to switch over to the universal. So I expect that to happen, is that she's going to make a switch to universal and become a tier 4 universal character there. So that way she becomes powerful. We could also see Gwenpool, for instance, becoming a speed tier 4. We know they love that character overall, right? Could you see any of the other characters in here becoming tier 4s? And that's where it gets a little bit dicey, because not really. So the speed window is kind of, already, like, for instance, we already have a speed tier 4 in Black Widow. So you've got potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 other female characters that she's competing with, right, as speed tier 4s. Like, that's the truth of the matter. Is at some point I expect them to not just utterly disrespect Shuri and give us the Black Panther uniform. Maybe we're gonna get it with the Wakanda Forever release on Disney, and then we get her uniform plus a tier 4 for the character. So it's just really weird that they did it this way, because there's 4 characters in that list to compete with against Shadow Shell. It just further doesn't make sense when you look at her skill set inside here, because we get Toxic Immunity, tier 2 passive. She gets a 90% chance to become immune to poison damage. Like, who's poisoning her? Then we get Serpent Shot. So that's the only update to her passives. No update to the leaderships at all. We get Serpent Shot. Doesn't have a whole lot here. Paralysis, poison damage, Toxic Explosion. Nothing here. Finally, on her 3, very lackluster. All that's here is basically increase all basic attacks by 50. Finality Miss, we get Poison, Fracture, and then we get her 25% HP recovery. She does get Invisibility and Ignore Targeting. She has Ignore Targeting, not that she can target characters who have activated Ignore Targeting. Then we get Northern Tornado, where we see her damage accumulation on her 5th skill. So to be honest with you, this is just, this is very, like, for a tier 4 character with a brand new uniform coming, this seems, she must have a whole lot of hits on her skill tree, or at least because she's able to do this poison damage that she's doing, there's going to be a lot of damage over time. We'll have to see. Like, my expectation is that this is kind of like so slim because the poisonous damage is going to be doing a lot of DOT. So like that damage over time, that's essentially what I see there, right? But then we get War Tiger, and War Tiger gets basically 3 skill updates inside here. You know, he looks a little bit better in terms of what he's getting overall. We get some like bleed, stun, incapacitation, paralysis, and we get 30% chance to penetrate, so, and 100% chance to grant immunity. We get all defense down, a nice frenzy buff, 55, 1 and 35. Then we get Breath of the White Tiger, decreased recovery rate. That's not bad to see that on there. For the bleed skill, we get silence, paralysis, and then we get recovery of 15% of HP with an invincible 5 seconds, and increase all basic attacks by 50. The hard part to see about War Tiger, right, is that he's only getting a uniform. He's only getting a uniform. In 2023, 6 months after we get the release of Tier 4 of characters, to see a character only get uniforms, it just doesn't make sense. For that reason alone, I'd be like, skip this character. You know, he's an awakening character that we're basically giving a uniform to. It's his first uniform, but skip that. There's no reason. Like Tier 4, now that we know that other potential speed characters are on the horizon, skip that. Like, it's just weird to say this, right? Then we get to Miles Morales, who, because like these characters are not popular. Like that, like Danny Koo, you did a great job in creating these characters, in my opinion, but they're just not popular, right? They are not popular, and so like they become very skippable when you see them. They're not the likes of Luna Snow and Sharon Rogers. Like I would venture to say Crescent's more popular than those characters. So then we roll into Miles Morales, who's conceivably the most popular of the characters in here, and sure shit, he still becomes a support damage dealer, right? That's essentially his role in the game, is he's still gonna stay a support damage dealer. The main reason why you would have this character, you would get him, is because this hints at Spider-Man potentially coming to us in Tier 4, where we get an increase to Spider-Man's all basic attack for 70%, because we put Miles in the lead and we put Spider-Man in the damage dealing role. And then if Spider-Man goes down for some instance, we back default to Spider-Man. That's essentially what we've got there, right? So you put Spider-Man, you put Venom, and you put Miles in the same team, basically, essentially, right? Then we get Miles has some, his kit actually looks better. He gets a lot of ignore targets dodge rate by 25%, lightning damage nobody cares about, increased guaranteed dodge rate by 20, and then he gets the increased basic damage dealt to supervillains for 120% on there. So massive boost to do damage for World Boss Legend, right? Nothing on his first skill really to write home about, nothing on his second skill to really write home about. Then we get Bio Venom attack. Inside here, he gets the frenzy buff, 35, 5, and 20, which seems very mid at this point. We get his acrobatic attack, where he gets 100% chance for immunity all damage, increased basic damage by 100% for one attack, and then nothing else really there. Then on his 5th skill, we get the recovery of 20% HP. We get barrier. Barrier. For real, that's what we got. So we get the immunity here for 5 seconds, and then we get barrier for 10 seconds, for 5 seconds, 10 times. Okay, whatever. Then we get Miles Morales' Tier 3, which actually, you know, it's crazy because there are some new animations, but they don't do anything with them. Like, if you can see, there's some key items in the animation where it's like the shafts to the bridge. He's got the girders and stuff that we normally see, but it's weird because those bridge sections just come in here and they very lazily fall down. Like, it's weird how that animation looks. Maybe it'll be cleaned up in the final update, but watch when they fall in, you see everything happening. They fall in the background and they just like domino kind of tip over without any kind of real physic like effect or anything. Like, it just looks weird. But then you get all the girders and, you know, the light post and stuff like that we're normally used to seeing. He gets his accumulation of pure damage for, you know, on his Tier 3 skill. Shadow Shell gets the increase all basic 50 attack. We've seen that. The biggest update in here is that we're getting a new dispatch mission sector in Asgard. Cool. We can basically farm for energy, Titan component packs, Essence of Dimension, which should help us accelerate, you know, getting some characters, but it just feels very lazy in my opinion. And then we get the ability to remove all dispatch slots. The mission content improvements of the means of auto progressing through story. I don't really understand this. Like, just skip the goddamn. Just like, once you've seen it one time, right? You can just skip it. So just skip it. I don't know. We get new artifacts for the three update characters, and that's ignore target's dodge rate by 20, basic supervillain faction damage by 20, and then Miles gets his 20% chance to dodge all attacks as well. The new future pass, a little weird. We get Draconic Incarnation and Devour of Worlds, right? So weird because, like, it's weird that, well, I guess it's not so weird with those. Now, the Galactus Devourer of Worlds looks pretty goddamn amazing in my opinion. Like, that is a dope looking, I just don't know that I want to spend $40 in this update to be like, hey, damn it, it wouldn't pop up for me. I just don't know that I would want to spend $40 in this update for this yeah, I don't know that that's where I'm at with that. Like, this update doesn't look that great for me to want to spend $40 in this update for it. Like, I don't see it. That's just me, right? But if you're there, and then we can see Crescent and Io basically coming into mid-month. So whether that means we will see Crescent and Io as a mid-month, or whether we're gonna see something else, who knows? Because it's been disjointed. There's been no rhyme or reason to it. We get the uniform collection inside there. Woohoo! And then we get updates to this crafting, so we can just skip those. Thank God. The rest of this is just a whole lot of nothing there. So really overall, this update is looking a whole lot mediocre. There doesn't seem like a lot on the bones for this update. Without saying it, I think this is a big skip. I'll purchase the Miles Morales uniform. I mean, most of this I'm going to purchase from a content creator's perspective anyways, but Miles Morales is the only character that I'm really psyched to be purchasing. It's just sad because I don't have room in my roster for him to be doing anything. Like, this is one of the things you quickly realize when you're playing Marvel Future Fight, right? And you're doing it from a non-content creator's perspective. I want to show you guys something, right? From a non-content creator's perspective, I've got 654, million gold sitting inside here. I know there's plenty of people who probably have way more than that for me, right? But overall, if you're a free-to-play player, pay-to-play player, something like that, or you mid-play, not a whale or something like that, and you want to create most of your content, do you need all of those characters in order to do all of that content, or the content that's currently in the game? No, you don't. Like, you really don't. I've got 4 tier 4s, and then these are the rest of my characters, and I'm able to complete all the content in the game that currently is there. So to add any of, like, Shadow Shell, I really don't have a reason to go for a speed type character in Shadow Shell. Do I need War Tiger? I definitely don't need a tier 3 character who's just getting a uniform. I didn't need it I don't need a tier 3 character who's just getting a uniform. Miles Morales, do I need a tier 3 advancement character who's getting a uniform? Definitely not. I mean, realistically, the best hope for the Miles Morales uniform, like I said, is that he basically becomes, support damage dealer to Spider-Man, and we get a 70% attack and boost. But I'm not gonna go back to using a tier 3 speed character because Miles Morales gives him 70% boost in attack, when I've got tier 4 characters that I can roll with. At best right now, unless the mid-month comes out and they say, hey, you know what, it's Luna Snow and she's going to be a universal character, or it's going to be, Sharog and she's going to be a universal blast or something like that, I don't have the intention of updating anybody. I might pull the trigger finally in tier 4 Iron Man. I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, I like playing with him, but he's not one of my favorite characters to play. Or maybe I'll just boost up using Magneto so that way I have a mutant character inside there. I don't know. For me, I'm just saving resources for them to give me characters that I actually want. That's basically where I'm at. I will save up for me, this is a reason not to purchase anything inside this month or to use any of my dwindling resources for, because truth be told, if you go over to the inventory slot for a lot of players who aren't paying to play, you know, resources are very hard to come by for tier 4 characters. So I've got to be exceptionally wise about how I spend those resources. And right now, the way it stands, I've got enough to pay maybe tier 4 one character. So is Shadow Shell that one character I want to tier 4 before I have to then work up and they introduce a character like Spider-Man, Deadpool, or, you know, Shuri or something like that that I really want to do? Shadow Shell's just not going to scratch that itch for me. I won't use that character. So it is what it is. I highly suggest you guys be very conservative with how you're going to spend your money in this update. I don't see a lot of skin on the bone for you in terms of, you know, getting Shadow Shell, War Tiger, and unfortunately, I hate to say it's even Miles Morales. But I hope you guys enjoyed the update. I'll give you guys some more updates on this as the content gets released tomorrow. Until next time, peace.